Hello, Martin. No,
Yes.
not yet. Hold on. Yeah,
Yes.
we are live. Yeah, go on.
Yes. We're live. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining this panel. Liviu, Alex, Katerina, thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited to be the moderator of this panel. This is about humanity and inclusivity and cooperation. So I know we didn't prepare this event beforehand. So don't worry if you're hesitating and things. We're just going to do it human for human, okay? Um, I'm very glad you guys are here. Thank you so much, and please introduce yourself. Please tell us why you're in Web3 and what do you do and all that stuff. Thank you. Maybe Alex, why don't you go?
Perfect. Hi there, everyone. So happy to be here. Thanks, Nathan. I am Alex Pryor. I head up digital innovation for EOH, which is one of Africa's largest technology companies. In addition, I'm a founding member of the World Metaverse Council, and I am also the founder and CEO of the Africa Web3 Revolution, which aims to support, promote, and connect African businesses within the emerging tech space and really raise the profile of Africa globally within the tech space. I've been within the Web3 space for, I think, probably 3 or 4 years now, but very much from a corporate perspective for the past 2 years. And it's really wonderful to be here and to be chatting about a topic that I'm really very passionate about because it affects so many people on my continent very, very greatly and stands to really look at how mass adoption for Web3 can actually take place in a practical manner.
Awesome. Hello, Benjamin. Can you hear us?
Yes, hi. I can hear you very well. Thank you.
Okay. Katerina, why don't you go? Women first.
Oh, thank you so much.
Ladies first.
For gentlemen. Well, my name is Katrina Volkova. I'm co-founder of Rio. It's one of the DeFi projects that basically also pretty innovative from the tech side and also from security side, I could say, in a certain way. And I'm also a chief strategy officer at Run the Chain. At Run the Chain, we are helping projects, Web2 and Web3 projects, to join Web3, to thrive in Web3 via our marketing and PR services. And also, we have certain incubation services for some projects that we are selecting. We also have a small fund where we select the projects and helping them not only with the money, but I could say it's smart money. In this case, it's more about like helping the projects not only with funds, but also to thrive in this space with all our connections. And why I joined Web3, I think, it's been a while. It was like 2016, 2017. And I've been working with different funds, mostly in Europe, Middle East, and also Asia. And I've been helping funds in the beginning. Later on, I started to advise projects as well, because before Web3, I was helping real businesses to explore, let's say, the market, to go abroad for the market, to penetrate other markets. And I think that Web3, it's very promising. It's like, I know when Web 1, Web 2 appeared, like everybody was talking just like, okay, that's the end. We have it. We reached it. But now we have Web 3, and I think it's just the beginning. And we will see so many technologies that would help, and that are already helping the world in different cases.
Awesome. Liviu?
Yes, thank you, Martin. Hello, everyone. I'm very glad to be here with you and be part of this initiative. So my name is Liviu Manda. I'm CEO of Imperium. I am also one of the three co-founders. Imperium is a platform which aims to provide transparency, security, ownership, and exposure to the top cryptocurrencies in the world. We offer a series of index funds for our users, and the services that we will provide comply very, very well with the theme of this panel, offering to everyone a chance to be financially included in Web3 and DeFi space. I started in Web3 and in crypto in 2017 with some investments back then. It was that mania phase, and I experimented my first bear market. But gladly, I stayed in the space and I did a lot of research. And in 2021, in February, so 2 years ago, I started working at Imperium with the other two co-founders. And what I wanted to say, and maybe explore a little bit later in the panel, we will be discussing about barriers to access for the users, but also as a founder, you have a lot of barriers to access the Web3 space because it's a very new space. And I'm glad that I think most of those barriers for us as founders have been broken down, and somehow we have a clear path right now with what we need to do. And I'm very looking forward to have this panel discussion with you, and thank you for this chance, Martin.
You're welcome. I like your house on the background.
Thanks.
Benjamin, why don't you go now?
Yes, hi, Martin. Behind is my
Hi.
real house, by the way.
Yeah, I like it.
This is my real house also, Benjamin.
Can we trade?
We can trade.
I'm just kidding.
So I co-created two podcasts in French. Sorry, guys. One called Art and NFT, and the other one is called NFT Business. So it's not only about NFTs, it's about Web3, but then you see the difficulty to find a real good vocabulary about Web3 because it's blockchain, crypto, NFT, metaverse. And let's say Web3 is nice. It's the best way to describe it. So I'm doing podcasts, and I have a training company also. And we train individuals and companies on Web3, technologies and outcomes for their company. And I've been asked more and more about DeFi recently. I think it's about maybe for the last 6 months, I have recurring people asking me all the time about DeFi. They want to know more. So I've been trained on DeFi at Alira Blockchain School, which is the only French school that can teach you really technological stuff on Web3. And I was totally, I'm completely amazed by DeFi because it's the way to empower people. And as you get more and more into Bitcoin and you understand that it's a probable next currency, or I would say an alternative currency, then you understand how DeFi, decentralized finance, could be an alternative way of lending money, borrowing crypto, having more services thanks to crypto that usually would be only reserved to banks. And it's a way to become our own bank. And this is so powerful that I'm really into that, and I'm eager to start discussing about that.
Yeah, that's the financial inclusion, that we should be talking about. First, I want to say, Benjamin, I really love your podcast. I literally listen to every single one of them. They're amazing. I learn a lot about everything around Web3. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate that. So I wrote down some questions, to kind of make you guys think about some stuff, but feel free to share whatever you want. At the end of the day, we're here to share our knowledge for the community. So what are the biggest barriers to financial inclusion that you think that we should address? Maybe why don't you go, Benjamin?
Well, if you really think about that, I believe strongly that the system was created to get the people out of the system. I believe the system is created in order for banks and financial institutions to have power on the individuals. And you can see that as the system. You can see that at school. Basically, in school, you never learn how to manage your money. Basically, what is money? Basically, how can you get more power with money to make things, not just to accumulate money, which is ridiculous, but to use money as a mean to get your life more, I would say, more exciting, maybe to create more projects with money. So you can see that in the whole society system. And all of a sudden, crypto tells you that you could manage your own crypto with your wallet. Then you can also borrow crypto from a DeFi protocol, and then you can also exchange crypto out throughout the world with almost no fees and no institutions. So that's really huge.
If I
Who
could
would like to
maybe
chime in? Yeah, you want
if
to,
I could
Alex,
maybe
you
add
want
to
to talk?
that. Yes. So I think one of the biggest barriers to financial inclusion, as Benjamin said, is that it's a system that's not designed for people below a certain income line. If I was the reason I was looking to the side now, if you noticed, was that I was checking my stats, and about 1.7 billion people on this earth are currently unbanked. They do not have a bank account. So from a financial inclusion perspective, I know here in South Africa, one of the requirements in order to become a customer of a bank is you have to prove your address. But by the same token, we have several million people living in informal settlements where they do not have an address that they can prove. You have to prove your address. So you can't have KYC, know your customer, without having the ability to prove where you live, for example. They may not have an ID. If you think about migrants between countries, these sort of illegal migrants who are not technically allowed to be there, they cannot be part of the central financial system. But by the same token, DeFi, and I'm sure we'll chat a bit about the fact that there isn't legislation yet around it, which is something we need to be cognizant of. But the way that DeFi actually stands to cause mass adoption within this Web3 space is that you don't need to have that interaction with central authority to be able to use it. Within Africa, we've been using mobile money on our cell phones that does not require the banks since 2007 with a non-blockchain currency called M-Pesa. So one of the things I find really exciting is the fact that for groups of people who most people don't take time to consider, they're already in the system that is actually prepped for this. This next step is just to move them onto a blockchain-based currency rather than a non-blockchain-based currency that's controlled by a central entity. So DeFi stands to be able to include people, but in a way that you don't have to understand the blockchain. I think, as Benjamin, you were saying, there are all these terms, but I keep saying you don't have to understand an engine to be able to drive a car. You don't have to understand how to write an application in order to be able to use your iPhone. And by the same token, a person does not need to be able to understand blockchain to be able to use DeFi. And I think one of the barriers for DeFi is that we still talk too technically. We talk blockchain, we talk, DeFi, talk about decentralized finance. The average person doesn't know what this means. And as soon as we can start talking about it in a way that talks about the benefits rather than the technology, then we're going to get somewhere.
Yes, agree.
Okay, but I agree with everything that you guys said, and this is the right approach to provide the people the opportunity to use DeFi and in a manner that is very simple and not get it to technical. But how can we avoid to make it centralized and have a decentralized finance? Because the more you want to make it decentralized, the more the risks will be there, and the people who are using that technology, will be more complicated. So I think that the correct way to do it is to be somewhere in the middle. And I think that for the moment, I don't know if we have a perfect recipe for that, or if a way to do that. But I like that we keep exploring.
Well, in my
everyone wants. Sorry, Catherine. Everyone wants the corporate money, but no one actually wants the corporates involved. And unfortunately, I don't think you can get both. And when you bring in central bank digital currencies, which is its own conversation, into the mix, it gets very, very interesting as what's going to happen. I think the biggest issue for DeFi is the fact that there is no legislation to guide countries, to guide organizations, and it also scares individuals. So I'm going to hand over to Katerina because she hasn't spoken yet, but it's something we really need to think about. And we know that the legislators are coming for this, but what it looks like, that will really define how this goes forward.
Yeah.
Well, in my case, I think that Alex, you mentioned like this mobile money, so in my case, most of the people, they confused between DeFi, CeFi, and FinTech. Because in Africa, what you can see, it's not DeFi. I'm really sorry to say that because I know like African countries pretty well, and Africa is actually evolving pretty fast, I could say, thanks to European money, Chinese money, and all the technologies. But anyway, in Africa, we can still see mostly fintech, high class fintech. We could see the same in Indian countries, like Indian states. They're different, right? Like India is huge, and there are different states, different also level of innovation in different states. And all emerging countries, they're mostly like on fintech stage or on CeFi stage, as we could see in Latin America, where lots of CeFi projects, centralized finance projects, invested a lot of money to promote themselves. So we could see lots of monopoly or oligopoly in these countries. And talking about DeFi, most of the projects who are calling themselves DeFi, decentralized finance, actually, they're not decentralized at all, unfortunately, at this stage. It's not because they don't know how to be decentralized, but it's because, first of all, we are talking about legislation. Secondly, they're still like on such an early stage that it's impossible to decentralize everything from the beginning. Yes, we could talk about DAO. We could talk about some possibility for communities to run, like to help to run the project, but it's still not decentralized. And I know CZ also talking about Binance as it's decentralized, and everything is decentralized, like everything regarding the legislation. I have nothing regarding it, like because no one is running the project. It's completely decentralized. But
yeah, I agree.
Debate.
So like, just like Shivo too in country El Salvador, which is supposed to be Bitcoin and decentralized, they still centralize it in a certain way. So I totally agree with what you say.
Martin, can I intervene? Sorry, I don't like the word
Yeah.
decentralized. I agree with all that. It's nothing's decentralized. What I would say is DeFi actually is finance with smart contracts. Smart contract is just a software. So I would say it's finance made by a software, and a software that anyone can design, because on Ethereum it's Solidity. I mean, it's kind of easy language to master. Maybe in a few months you can master that, and you can create a smart contract for lending and borrowing crypto. So I believe that millions of people will create smart contracts for financial usage, financial use case in the next few years, and that's what I call decentralized. It's before to lend money to someone, you would need to be an institution recognized by the United Nations or whatever, by Central Bank of Europe. So today, you create a smart contract. You need to attract liquidity, of course, but then you use, Twitter, social networks, and you say to people, "Hey, come and check my smart contract, and why don't we just trade crypto?" And that's the revolution. So not anyone will make smart contracts, but people everywhere in the world could start using thousands of smart contracts, and they will be all on their smartphone. And there will be centralization because iPhone will say, here are the 3 smart contracts that we recognize. But I hope people will get more and more educated in that field, and then they will choose their own smart contracts.
I think that's a good point, because while it becomes relatively easy to make a smart contract, it is not easy to make a good smart contract or a secure smart contract. And especially in the crypto world, where the problem is less the hackers as it is the scammers, that's going to add an element of suspicion to people who are adopting it. If we look at, and I think the other issue is that cryptocurrency and blockchain and DeFi all get confused. So DeFi is obviously linked to cryptocurrency, but people are suspicious of it. And that's one of the things that's going to prevent adoption, is people are suspicious of it. But where we see adoption happening of cryptocurrencies, it's actually in emerging markets for exactly the reasons we've been talking about. In terms of the top 10 countries that are, in terms of Bitcoin and of cryptocurrency adoption, I think Nigeria tops that list. But only one European country, for example, is in the top 10, and that's Turkey, I think number 3 or number 4. But aside from that, the States isn't in there. Pretty much none of the main countries in Europe are in there, but none of these so-called first world countries are there, which means that adoption is going to be happening in emerging markets. And that is going to be interesting because they work in a very different way to so-called first world countries. But yes, what happens with this and what happens with the legislation, because the legislation is coming. The banks are fighting for their lives and the banks are lobbying the governments there. The governments are issuing their own central bank currencies. They don't necessarily want to compete against cryptocurrencies. Maybe not stress the panel. I mean, how do you see that playing out? Because the other reason people don't want to adopt DeFi as opposed to, as Katerina says, something that's a bit more centralized, even if it's not a bank, is because is someone going to come and take my money next year because it's been made illegal?
Yeah. Liv, you want to say something on that? Or
Yeah, I have more knowledge about European legislation and MiCA, the law that is now under analysis at the European Union. So MiCA is the markets in crypto assets, and from what we discussed with our lawyers, it will enforce a lot of laws on crypto, and it will be a very hard law. They don't treat that much the NFTs. So NFTs, maybe it will be a gate, to avoid some of the legislation. We have a draft, a very big draft of almost 200 pages. And I think that real innovation will not take place until we have these laws in certain jurisdictions, because when you have the laws, you can sit at the table with the government authorities and you can really make a platform or a smart contract, as Benjamin said, that accounts for security, for transparency, and it's also government backed or something like that, let's say. Until then, we are just testing. We are in a test net. I don't think that we will see a mainnet until we have clear laws. This is my opinion.
Okay,
Leva,
that's
I
great.
can just add something. I think that in general, the market will be divided, and the market will be divided between. I don't want to say it like darknet, but let's say people who would like to escape strict legislations, like Bitcoin anarchists, like crypto anarchists, and all the guys who don't need legislation and don't trust governments. There are plenty of them, especially in blockchain space and Web3. And also more regulated markets. And I'm not sure, I don't want to bet on it, but I do believe that there will be a day when we will see lots of financial systems of developed countries would be regulated with blockchain space as well, like the blockchain space will be regulated there, while we would see lots of emerging countries that wouldn't be that much regulated, or they would be regulated, but it would be possible always to overcome this law. Let's say how it's possible now.
Yeah, I like what you say, Katerina. I believe the genius is out of the box now, and there's no way out. Meaning that, you check Gary Gensler, the SEC, he says, oh, by the way, this is security. Oh, and this also, or maybe this is security. Oh, what am I doing? He doesn't know, because, of course, every week now we have a new technology. Now we have layer 2s. Now we have ZK rollups. What I mean is, like, every time they're going to put new regulation, there will be more people inventing new technology, new smart contracts, new use case in the crypto space. So Katerina, I think, is right. You will have the companies that will adopt strict regulation, and that will be services on crypto for the basic general population. And you will have people like us who have the education, and we will be able with our wallets to interact with such and such DeFi protocol, because we will have the education. So we all believe that education is the key doing, and that's why I'm excited every time I teach someone about DeFi and crypto, because I want people to get educated and understand what they are doing. But I believe now with YouTube and with all the social networks, I hope people will have this excitement of knowledge to have their own wallets and understand what is happening with CBDC, etc. I believe in that, especially in developed countries. I see that they are very at ease with crypto, with QR codes, with iPhones, with etc. So that's a good thing. I believe that there's going to be change in power. Probably the developed country will have more power in the crypto space than the Western world.
Yeah, very soon too. So I'm so fired up to be here. I'm learning so much. Thank you so much for me, you guys. I have a burning question. I just want to know if you guys have some example of successful DeFi project that have been used to promote financial inclusion. I just want to know if you guys have any project in mind. If not, that's okay. Anybody?
No, not really. What
Think-
I just see a gamification of some
Yeah.
protocols like PancakeSwap, but of course it's
Yeah.
Binance behind. But at least they have their gamified. It's a gamified experience. There's icons everywhere. It's 3D graphics, so the interface is nice, and you don't feel like you're into a financial world, basically. So I believe in that, but it's still
And that's
something.
for everyone. And that's for everyone.
I believe it's
Yes.
more about, it's not about the project itself, it's about the whole ecosystem, because ecosystems are fighting as well. It's a competition here. And ecosystem, they're helping the projects with financial, like DeFi projects as well, with financial inclusions. So if you're talking, for instance, about Binance, right? Binance invested a pretty huge amount of money into Nigeria, and they had that meeting, I think it was like mid of 2022 with the Nigerian president, or Vitalik with the Ethereum ecosystem had a meeting with Montenegrin governor regarding also implementation of blockchain there, but into financial systems, right? So like it's also financial inclusion. And we also have Ripple, who are helping other countries with financial inclusion of blockchain space. So in such regard, I see more about like ecosystem fight. Ecosystems are dividing the world, helping financial systems to integrate blockchain, what means about financial inclusion actually. While we see also like smaller projects and projects, different ones. Like we could talk about like more bank side, like like Simplex, for instance, or more talking about like Chainlink with their huge ecosystem, huge supporters, I don't know, like, and projects they are helping. Or we could talk about I don't know, like Aave or Compound, and all these giants, all these amazing projects, they do help financial inclusion, they help emerging markets.
Yeah.
But ecosystems have more money, more power, more connections, I could say in certain way. And they are the ones, like the leaders of these ecosystems are the ones whom big guys would listen to. I don't want to mention whom become the founder of Ripple later on once he stepped out of Ripple, but still, like it's one of the examples, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to add what Katerina is saying, that regarding Aave and Compound, which are very famous DeFi protocols, they have a huge community around the project, like on Twitter, on the Twitter of Aave, for example, or their YouTube or whatever. You see so much interesting people interacting with that we don't even need endorsement of a bank or endorsement of a huge institution to know that Aave is a very good protocol, audited and secured. So
Yeah.
I believe that more and more community will be even bigger than endorsement from central banks. And that's also the revolution of the Web3 is the community aspect.
Yeah.
Good point.
Perhaps I can actually just add in a couple of examples as you asked, Martin, around
Yeah.
protocols that are being utilized in crypto for financial inclusion. One of the big ones in Africa is a company called Yellow Card. They started as as a centralized exchange, but what they really have done recently is launch what they call Yellow Pay, which is around sending money instantly cross-border for cross-border payments between countries in Africa. It's currently in about 16 countries in Africa. And that's really something that is a very big use case here, because you've got people who move between different countries in order to be able to work. But to send money via the centralized system, via the banks, is very expensive. Whereas to utilize YellowPay as a mobile app, it lets them actually send money to their families instantly without needing to worry about that, with very, very minimal fees, and gets them introduced into the crypto ecosystem. Another one, which is not exactly DeFi based, but also allows for a bit more financial inclusion, is a project that's happening here in South Africa. And you may know we have a rather large problem with rolling blackouts at the moment. But a company that started out in NFTs has moved into effectively fractionalized solar offerings. So you can pay just with your normal credit card to purchase a single solar cell up to an entire block. And once they've got a certain number, they will do that installation on a rural school or a hospital or somewhere where it needs it. But because the excess power is fed back into the grid, there's a return on investment. So you receive this as an NFT, and as you said, an NFT is potentially a way to get around the DeFi legislation as it's coming at the moment. But it allows people to, for a very small amount, invest into something they wouldn't otherwise have been able to invest in, to gain a benefit, as in more power for our grid when we need it, and also to be able to trade that on the market. So it opens up a world for people that previously they weren't able to do. So, DeFi doesn't have to be traditional exchange, loan, stake. It can actually be something that's a little bit more broad, depending on how far out of the box you think.
Yep.
Yeah,
Livio?
and if I can add something, to what everyone said. When I thought about our team for the panel discussion, the barriers, I defined three of the most biggest barriers that I observed in the space. First one is access to financial services. So if an individual want to access a borrowing platform or a lending platform, or to earn interest on its holdings, it can be very difficult in some countries, especially in Africa or underdeveloped countries. And blockchain and DeFi offers, let's say, a fair chance to everyone. And here I thought about Aave, which you already mentioned, and also Yearn Finance, which is also quite big. The second one that I identified is cross-border payments that Alex said about yellow card in Africa. I didn't know about that, but I only identified Ripple. Unfortunately, this is the only one that I came across. Either we like it or not. And the third barrier is that people need access to investment opportunities. So each and everyone should have a fair chance to have the ability to place an investment and
Absolutely.
to earn some interest on its economies, on its holdings, on its money. And here I thought about Compound and MakerDAO. These are the projects that I identified. In my opinion, these are the most biggest barriers. So if you identify some other ones, I'm really curious about.
This is great, but also there's something I learned over the years teaching people how to earn passive income and earn interest, is that in some religion you're not allowed to earn interest. So that's also something to think about, and very funny. But we're almost coming down to the end of this panel, so we can't finish this panel without talking about regulation and regulators. So if you guys maybe want to chat about it or chat about something else, who wants to go?
Well, I think everybody would agree that regulation is coming. Talking about that, I'm really sorry, just like one step behind, like talking about that in some religious you are not allowed to earn interest. If you're talking about Islamic banks, then I'm really sorry, but there are lots of special projects already created in Islamic world who are helping with that. And Saudi people, they are also coming into blockchain space to solve different dilemmas. And Islamic banks, they're just operating on slightly different approach, but it's still possible to do that by another approach. So talking about and it's also part of the regulation, right? Like, because like they're all highly regulated. And talking about let's say regulation, I would say that in the future, for sure, like more and more we will see regulated markets, especially like in developed countries and countries who are developing now, but not emerging countries, but developing, right? We would see lots of regulation because they are basically following developed countries. And it's more about politics, I would say. It's not about actually people who would like to help financial systems, unfortunately. So that's my opinion. I don't know.
Good.
Yeah. That's also my opinion. I have a very political view on that. And regulation is aimed at reproducing a system of who has the power and who is underlying the power. So it will be exactly that. And you can see that clearly in the USA. They try to start implementing the same powering system, that who's going to be in charge and who's going to be under that. So in Europe they try to do something, I think, more different, because there are more countries and all the countries don't have the same interest or the same vision of who has the power. So of course the central bank in Europe has the power, but now we believe that in Europe they had too much power and they didn't do the job well. So power is going to go down more into the governments and the states, and crypto will help that. But check the regulation and you'll understand who wants the power.
Yeah, perhaps I could just sort of add an interesting related point to that. So while I in general think that the crypto winter has been a fantastic thing because it gets rid of all the money grab projects, and the ones who stick around and build are going to actually be the ones who set the scene for the next revolution. From a crypto point of view, what it did unfortunately do, at least for developing countries, is it halted the adoption of Bitcoin as alternate currencies. So when El Salvador did it, everyone was watching with these big eyes, and it was just before the crash. And I think if we hadn't had that crash, we would also Central African Republic have adopted it as an alternate currency. But the reason that a lot of these developing nations are looking at Bitcoin in particular as an alternate currency is to move away from the reliance on the US dollar. And as we see that sort of thing coming in, you're going to see more and more stringent regulation coming from the likes of the US government, coming even from the likes of the World Bank. Because as you say, it's about changing of power structures, and people don't want to see the status quo changed.
Perfect. We're coming down to the end. I just want everyone to get a chance to do a last thought, of closing thoughts for this panel, okay? Go ahead, Alex or whoever.
Perfect. My closing thoughts on this is that basically don't forget that Africa's here. Yes, we tend to be the forgotten continent, but we are the second largest continent in terms of population, Bitcoin adoption. And watch the space for mass adoption of this technology, because people have already been using things similar, and it's not as big a jump for the African continent as it is for everyone else.
Katerina?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you, Martin, for being our fantastic moderator today, and
you're
also
welcome.
all the panelists, because it's, I don't know, like it's a pleasure for me to talk with all of you to discuss these important questions, and talking about DeFi and also like financial inclusion. I could say that it's coming. It's coming. It's definitely coming in different ways, in decentralized way and also highly centralized way that might be marketed or PR'd as decentralized. And for sure, lots of innovation will be. And I'm just like looking forward for this fantastic future, and especially like if these DeFi projects would help not only themselves, but also would help the world and international system, financial systems. That would be amazing.
Perfect. Livio?
Okay, thank you. First of all, Martin, as Katerina said, for being our moderator today. And thank you to my colleagues, Katerina, Alex, Benjamin. It was a pleasure discussing with you. And I want to end with some steps for the unreserved persons who have watched us and who will watch us. I defined 5 big steps. The most important one, as Benjamin said, is to conduct research and educate yourself. And the second one would be to acquire some cryptocurrency. Why not? Because you will need it for any DeFi protocol. Choose a DeFi platform and the service after you conducted your research. Also take precautions because we saw what happened in the last couple of months or the last 6 months. And don't be afraid to seek guidance because what I see in this space is that people really want to help each other. And there are a lot of well-intended people as well as scammers, as someone previously said. But this shouldn't stop us from seeking guidance and trying to help each other to live in a better world and offer a fair chance to almost everyone. So thank you again.
Okay, I would say that
Benjamin?
every time you hear someone or a big institution tell you that crypto is difficult, it's only for the mafia and that blah blah blah, remember what they used to say for the past 20 years or 30 years, that finance is too difficult for you to understand, politics is very too difficult for you to understand, foreign affairs is too difficult. So you see, we are as citizens, the revolution of crypto is that now we can start understanding what finance means. We understand what the money means, currency. We understand the difference in the interactions of power between countries. We understand all that. When you are in crypto, you have a feel of what power is. So power can be yours if you take understanding of what the crypto world and the Web3 environment. So go for it, absolutely go for it. You can start you can start interacting with these tools with like 20 euro or 40 euros. It's no big deal. In the crypto, they accept you with 20 euros in the crypto world.
Perfect. All right, this panel is now almost over. I just want to thank you all. I want to thank Laurent for putting this together. I want to thank the team that is also helping us. And so let's keep building together and see you later, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.